Welcome in. It's another on remote Clippers Talk Live. And on remote, I mean I'm not at the studio in Burbank. I'm not at Intuit Dome, but I will be tomorrow night as the Clippers are taking on the Golden State Warriors. And so we'll get in a quick episode today as I still have to make the trip and the trek back down to Southern California here in a little bit. So I'm not creating content that I can also listen to on my way back for myself, but I do this 7 days a week now. So I have to get this out of the way and get this done. Work on some other stuff later tonight. But when I say get this out of the way, I don't mean like this is a chore for me. You guys know I love being here. J Bose 84 says, "Good morning, double A." Good morning, J Bose. I swear, Diet Dr. Pepper, one of the elite diet sodas in all the land. Three dozen says, "Yo." Bonesaw said, "Double A, got that dog in him." Check the rib cage. Check the X-ray scans. Oscar said, "Is it books or movies behind you?" I can't tell on my phone. It's board games. It is board games. I like to say BORED games. That way of spelling boredom. I'm not big on the board games. It just leads to a lot of fighting. What do the rules say? And yeah, not into it. BOREDOM boredom games for me. Dr. Pepper, Diet Dr. Pepper, especially elite. I'm sure there's multiple expansions of Settlers of Catan or whatever behind me. I don't care, because if you're playing video games, it's way better. The rules are built in. You don't got to worry about any of that stuff. Board games, and I swear to God, every time there's a guy who brings a new board game, you have to learn it that night, and everybody talks about how next time it's going to be so awesome when they play. But then the next time, somebody brings another new game. Like, board games are for collectors. That's what this is. This is a board game hoarder here. That's what I'm seeing. Look at this. Look at this. There's no way anybody has actually played all of these games. This is insane. Well, we got some computer games back here, I think, too. That's also what you're looking at. Lord of the Rings, the card game. I can't take it. I can't take it. But it's a decent backdrop. It's kind of like artwork behind me. Real collage. Yeah, that's what I say board games are. It's a lot. So Sarah asks the pertinent question: do you think Curry is going to sit out versus us or the other team? Steve Kerr said he's going to rest one of the next two games. So if we're looking at the Golden State Warriors point of view after they lost last night in dramatic fashion to the Lakers, that was a great day for the NBA. All the games were close, competitive, fun games, and LeBron even tried to dunk on the NFL at the end, saying he loves the NFL, but this is our day. I felt like he and Kevin Durant with both their comments post-game after their wins as the Suns beat the Denver Nuggets in the final game last night. We're doing a little bit of PR work for Adam Silver in the NBA. Like, they were going out of their way to make sure that they protect their territory in their corner of the market on Christmas Day, because the NBA has been doing this a lot longer than the NFL. But hey, Noah Eagles on the call on that second game, even though I know it was a blowout. The halftime show with Beyonce was like better than the Super Bowl halftime show on Netflix. So they were very successful as well. But the NBA, they did a good job protecting their turf. And the Golden State Warriors would lose by 2 at the end as Austin Reeves got that layup on Andrew Wiggins, who never should have let him go baseline, and then nobody came over to help. So they're going to be upset regardless tomorrow night if Steph Curry's playing or not, but they are on a back-to-back, and that's why Steph Curry most likely is resting one of these two games. He hasn't looked like himself. He has looked banged up. And it's interesting because it goes back to what game was that for the Clippers? Game 3 of the regular season, their first back-to-back, where they went into Denver on the front end of the back-to-back, beat Nikola Jokic. That was the 22-point fourth quarter from Norman Powell, who went off. And also, I want to say had 37 or 39 in that game and had 7 3-pointers to match Jokic. And then the very next day, they're taking on Golden State, and they get another victory. They swept the back-to-back. And in that game, the final was 112 to 104. And Golden State got off to a really hot start this season. They look great. I want to say they were 10-2, something like that, their first 12 games. But since then, they're somewhat gimmicky 12-man rotation that some Clippers fans were saying, why don't we do something like this too? Well, turns out it's hard to keep guys in rhythm when you don't know how many minutes you're getting each and every night, or if you're getting such sparse playing time. It's just hard to keep guys fresh. Steph Curry expressed his concerns over that a couple of weeks ago, talking about guys not being able to stay in rhythm. Like, there is such thing as having too deep of a team where you're not getting guys enough playing time out there. And if you're trying to go to a 12-man rotation, whatever Steve Kerr was doing, I never felt like it was sustainable. I never felt like this was something that you could actually get away with throughout the entire regular season. I had my doubts about it, and it's kind of played out that way now because Golden State, I want to say they've lost 11 of their last 13 games. It has been bad. Planet 619, thank you. They started 12-3. Now, I'm staying at my cousin Mike's place, and I'm going to call him in at some point in a little bit. I'll just scream, Mike, like I used to when we were kids. He's a big Golden State fan. And, well, he was talking a lot of trash. Even after the Clippers beat him the first time with a final score of 112 to 104, their third game of the regular season for both teams. The second game, he thought that was a fluke. The Golden State Warriors would handle their business in the second game. They were still playing good basketball at that time. And the Clippers beat them again. Remember, that was the game where Golden State missed all those free throws. They went 9 of 19. They missed 10 free throws in a 3-point loss at Intuit Dome. That's when we started to think, okay, Intuit Dome is really establishing itself as a fortress now. And at one point, what did the Clippers win? How many straight was it? Was it 9 straight, I want to say, in Intuit Dome? They couldn't get to double digits there, but pretty good after starting 0-4 in their new home arena. So the Golden State Warriors had no one to blame but themselves, shooting 47% from the free throw line in that second game. But it was another game where the Clippers were defensively, they were really sound. They match up well against Golden State. They do. So whether Steph Curry's playing or not, I feel good about this because it just feels like one of those teams that the Clippers line up well against. Planet 619 said, I was never sold on the Dubs. Do the Clippers practice today? That I don't know. I haven't checked Law Murray's Twitter. I could just text him. We're tight like that. I wonder if they are, because that could mean Kawhi Leonard could get in one of those 5-on-5 practices. He's gotten in 4 so far. They need to see more from him in those settings and test out that right knee a little bit more, which is the good news. We talked about Kawhi a lot yesterday. If you missed yesterday's show on Christmas Day, it was a Santa Claus KLAWS themed show where Kawhi Leonard, I kind of gave an outline of how he has looked when he has returned from injuries in the past, trying to just project out a little bit how he could look when he first returns to the Clippers and how long it's going to take him to get back to playing or looking like himself out there. Drive-by Buddy says we're going to win by 5 tomorrow. Bonesaw said player to watch equals Ivica Zubac. Big Zoo, Big Zoo. I like that call because obviously they don't have the bigs with the Golden State Warriors to be able to handle him. In that first game, Big Zoo was detonating. He had 23 and 18 in the 112-104 victory, the third game of the regular season. He destroyed Golden State. That was up at Chase Center. In the second game, Ivica Zubac had just 8 points, but he had 17 boards still. And he's coming off, I think a top 3 game in his career after what he just did to the Memphis Grizzlies and their front line, doing that to Zach Edey and Jaren Jackson Jr., guys who are not exactly slouches out there, the former defensive player of the year winner in Triple J, but 20 and 19 in that game. Obviously, the big dunk late. Norman Powell would come through with that big midi jumper going to his left over Desmond Bane, who they had a bit of a showdown going on, kind of a one-on-one battle in between the team battle between the Clippers and Memphis Grizzlies. Again, 4-point victory on Monday night for the Clippers, whether their best victory of the season. And I think a top 3 performance by Ivica Zubac so far in his young career, just given the level of competition on the front line there with the Memphis Grizzlies. So I like the call. You guys going with Ivica Zubac as your player to watch. Ray said Zoo's going to feast. Ray said he's been so good against the Warriors. Drive-by Buddy said Shaq Zoo. Instead of Shaq Fu, Shaq Zoo. Ooh, I like that. That's good. That's better than Zoo Shack. I'm sorry, Dime. Dime Dropper loves Zoo Shack, but I've also been, if you know me, I have posts going back to 2021 showing off the old Shaq Reebok logo and saying whenever Zubac was going off in a game, I kind of was like, it looks like this when Big Zoo is dunking on people. It looks like the old Shaq logo from his Reebok shoes. This one right here I'm showing you guys. I kind of like the way it was just put there by, who said that? Drive-by Buddy. Shaq Zoo. Instead of Shaq Fu, the old video game that sucked. I don't know if anybody actually had it, but you know Shaq and marketing. I tried some of his sour gummies the other day, the giant Shaq sour gummies, where they're themed over his different nicknames. Like one is green for the big cactus when he was in Phoenix. Another one is yellow for when he was Shaq Diesel in LA. What's the other one? Is there a Shamrock one for when he's in Boston, the big Shamrock? Yeah, Shaq is pretty corny. Sarah said, do you think Harden realistically has a chance to be an all-star this year? It's going to be hard with all the guards in the West, but with Luka and Booker missing a lot of games, it opens up that possibility. I agree with you, Sarah. I think that's a really smart point. I do. I think a lot of it's still going to be dependent on the Clippers' record. If they continue to punch above their weight class, or however you want to put it, as many people in the national media doubted them and didn't think they'd be this good. If they continue to stay afloat above water, and who knows when they get Kawhi Leonard back, hopefully in the next 2 weeks here at least, I think it's going to be enough attention around James Harden and how the Clippers were able to do this, where it creates that narrative that gives him some momentum that could get him into the All-Star game. I really think that's a strong possibility. Norman Powell's making a case for himself also, letting everybody know, which I love because Norman Powell's been an underrated player for a long time. So him doing the rounds on these podcasts and starting to get a little bit more a brand recognition, you could say, that's big for him. Both those guys are deserving. Ivica Zubac could be in the conversation. Who knows? But you guys got to get out and vote. That's what this comes down to, is what? NBA.com/Clippers/vote, I think, is where you go. Hello Dolo said, I know we have all said that Zoo was always this good and is getting to show more due to the touches he's getting. But in my opinion, if there is one thing he did improve on, is the rebounding. He is an absolute monster this year. I think a lot of that, honestly, is just the fact that he doesn't have to make up for other guys' mistakes as much, where he has to leave his man because somebody else got beat off the dribble and now a guard is coming his way. Therefore, he has to leave his man, the big, and try to defend the rim against a guard. I think that's why he's able to get more rebounds, honestly. I don't think it's anything he's improved on. I think it's the perimeter defense that has improved. So Chris Dunn, Derrick Jones Jr., they're not getting beat off the dribble as much, to where then Ivica Zubac is basically trying to guard two guys, his man, and then also help out on the guy driving to the basket if he beats his defender on the perimeter. But that's just not happening as much with these new Clippers and the way they're defending and the mindset they have out there with Chris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr. Sarah Sheed said you should break down all the candidates. Maybe we'll do a show on that at some point. Zoo Alcindor for the win tonight. They're playing tomorrow. Yawning Tears said, what kind of opposing teams do you think Zoo struggles against, or does it not have as much to do with the other team? Honestly, can I say this? Strato said, Olai Zuwan. Olai Zuwan. Not a bad nickname. But I like Shaq Zoo here. Drive-by Buddy came up with that. Told Dime the same thing. Gives him some kung fu flair. Okay, so Dime is aware of this. Rouse and Kid said, I never understood why James Harden didn't make the All-Star when he was 2010 in Philly and was leading the league in assists. Yeah, he led the league in assists and didn't make the All-Star team. Ray said, everyone has to like, subscribe, and then vote for our big three to go to the All-Star game. There you go, in that order. Holodolo said, not a bad point. I agree, but he's also just better on the offensive glass this year. Some of that is, I'm not trying to take anything away from Ivica Zubac. You know I'm the biggest Zubac advocate. But when you see 9 offensive rebounds in the box score last game, guys, that's because he was missing some chippies against bigs like Zach Edey and Triple J, who are very good defenders, and then getting his own putbacks there. Like, it's not that, they were all offensive rebounds on somebody missing a 3 and he was getting them and creating extra possessions. It's somewhat of stat padding. Not that I'm saying he's doing it on purpose. I'm just saying it's inflationary with offensive rebounds when he's just missing his own shot and getting his own rebound there. So that's what a lot of those were. I think at least 5 of those of his 9 offensive rebounds last game. Now, that's fine. He's battling with 2 other bigs. So you love to see it, but it's not exactly the same type of rebound as some people are categorizing it as, or it's not, as impressive, I would say. Ray said, which is your favorite Xmas Day game? Quite a slate of games. The Disney Vision might save the league for the next generation. My favorite, NBA game yesterday. Mark said, I'm alive. I survived Christmas. Strato said, last Sixers game, PG had 12 points and shot 0 for 7 on threes. So glad we didn't overpay to keep him. You're talking about the Sixers win over Boston yesterday. Chunk said, Adam, a point I had for a first for Sexton. I'm not saying he wins us 5 games, but I do think the difference with him instead of KPJ could be the difference between 5 games. What are we right now? 3.5 games back? We'll update you on the standings coming up. I'm trying to get out of here in the next 15 minutes if possible, guys. I got to start driving back to SoCal. Chunk said, from Houston, I think they could slow down a touch. And if we get Sexton and lock in for the rest of the season, I can see us keeping that first. Okay, we talked about Colin Sexton a lot the last 2 shows, guys. If you want to check those out in the live section. What was the best NBA game? Well, the best one was probably I enjoyed watching LeBron versus Steph last night. Even though the Lakers ended up winning, which I'm not a fan of, I was giving my cousin so much crap who's a Golden State Warriors fan. It actually wasn't too bad for me. It actually was one of the less painful Lakers victories I've seen in a while because I respect the game. LeBron and Steph are legends. No matter what you think of those guys, or especially I know a lot of people hate LeBron in here. Like, he might be the GOAT, and he outdueled Steph Curry down the stretch, even though Steph had the crazy 30-foot three-pointer. Bang! The Mike Green call on that. Mike Breen, not Green. Let's see. Bonesaw said, let's see what kind of tactics Draymond tries to use on Zoo this game. God, that was annoying when he tried to wrap around. And I'm typically hating on the Lakers, but when they're trying to box him out, and he did that wrestling move where he pulled 2 guys to the floor yesterday, Draymond Green, he's just not very likable. Off the court, maybe he is, but on the court, he's pretty dirty. I think that's well established. He's kicked some guys in the chestnuts. SC said, who are the Zoo Schnickens then? You and Carl? I don't know what that means. Drive-by Buddy said, no more Sexton talk, please. LOL. We running it the way it is. Solid. You guys can see and listen to all the Sexton talk over the last couple of shows. It was extensive. But I want to get into this matchup tomorrow because it's a big one. Even though Kawhi's not playing, that's already established. We talked about that yesterday, too, in the Kawhi episode. So let's go through some of the numbers here because Golden State as I mentioned earlier, yeah, they've lost 11 of their last 14 games. Chat, correct me on that if I'm wrong, or double check or fact check me and give me a Pinocchio if I messed it up. So the Golden State Warriors are 15th offensively. They started off a lot better than that though. The Clippers, they're 20th. They started off about that. The Clippers, though, 5th defensively. Golden State is 9th. But if you look at the last 15 games, Golden State is 24th on offense. They've been miserable there. The Clippers, they're pretty much the same. They're 19th over their last 15 games. The Clippers, over the last 15 games defensively, they're 4th in defensive rating. Golden State is 20th. So Golden State, the last 15 games, they're 24th in offensive rating and 20th in defensive rating. They're just a bad team. Bottom 10 in both areas over their last 15. Here's what's really interesting about the Golden State Warriors. Their pace completely changed. They were playing in a top 5 pace through the end of October into November. They were 6th in pace in November. In December, the Warriors are 22nd in pace. They've completely slowed down. And that pace was creating a lot of havoc early on when they were winning games, when they were playing faster, when they had all these guys fresh that were somehow staying in rhythm as they were going 12 players deep out there. It was working at first. Now it's not. It's completely slowed down. Rebounding percentage, pretty equal. Clippers are 10th overall in rebounding percentage. Golden State is 12th. Clippers 3rd in defensive rebounding percentage. Golden State is 12th. Golden State 9th in offensive rebounding percentage. The Clippers are 15th. So Golden State is better there significantly, or it's meaningful enough to point out. The Clippers on the season, they're 9th in three-point percentage at 37.3%. Golden State is right behind them. They're at 37.2% from three. But Golden State takes 7 more threes per game. They attempt 41 threes, as you would expect. The Clippers just 34. Both defend the three-point shot well. Teams are shooting just 34% from the outside against both. Golden State Warriors, though, they're 25th in free throws attempted per game because they get up so many three-pointers. They only attempt 19 free throws per game. That's exactly what they attempted last time out at Intuit Dome, where they ended up going 9 of 19, and the wall completely destroyed them. Clipper Nation, we're going to be relying on you tomorrow night. The wall, the swell, it's affected Golden State in the past. Know that. Do it again. Be loud out there. The Clippers are at 20 free throws attempted per game. But Golden State actually shoots the worst free throw percentage in the league. They are barely above 70% at the charity stripe with Steph Curry on their team. The Clippers are at 78%. And that's kind of average. Golden State is that bad at the charity stripe. Turnovers per game, 15.8 by the Clippers. The Golden State Warriors, they're 10th best. They turn the ball over just 14.5 times per game. The Clippers are 11th in points in the paint at 49.1. The Golden State Warriors down at 19th at points in the paint because they take a lot of threes. They're only getting 46 points in the paint per game. Golden State giving up the 3rd fewest points in the paint, though, per game. Their rim protection is pretty good. They're only giving up 44.4 points in the paint per game. The Clippers are 8th there. They're solid. They're giving up 46 points in the paint per game, what Golden State averages. Clippers 11th in fast break points at 16.2 per game. Golden State 16th at 15.5. Golden State is giving up the fewest fast break points, though, per game. Their transition defense is good. They're only giving up 13.6 fast break points per game. The Clippers average 15.3. That's 15th in the league. So they might not get as many opportunities to get out on the break in transition. Golden State on twos on the season. They are 27th in two-point percentage. They're shooting 51.5% on twos. The Clippers, slightly better. They're about 52.7%, around 20th on two-pointers. Again, Golden State has lost 11 of 14. Steph Curry is scoring 5 less points per game this season, taking 3 less shots per game. playing almost 2 less minutes per game. And he has looked banged up since he got banged up against the Clippers in game 3. Remember, he left that game with around, 7 minutes left. The Clippers were already up by 9 in the fourth quarter. But that's when he first started to get banged up. He hasn't looked right since. Andrew Wiggins is having a nice season, but just gave up the layup to Austin Reeves last night. Probably shouldn't happen for a defender that good. Wiggins is scoring 4 more points per game. He's getting 17 points per game. He's also shooting 43% from 3. He's having a bounce-back renaissance type of year. Jonathan Kuminga, he's scoring half a point less per game, and it's really all because Jonathan Kuminga, who I have felt like Steve Kerr has probably been too hard on, he is shooting 10% worse on 2-point shots this season. On twos, he is shooting 10% worse from the field, Kuminga. So Golden State has just a lot of things. Pods is having kind of a sophomore slump type of year. Everything is going the other direction for them right now compared to where it was the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. Buddy Hield started off hot, has cooled off. He hasn't been playing as much. This was their big pickup to make up for the loss of Klay Thompson. And Buddy Hield started off cooking. He was shooting, guys, the first 5 games of the season, Buddy Hield was averaging 21 points per game while shooting 50% from the field and 50% from the outside. It dropped down in the month of November to 13 points per game, still shooting 41% from the outside. Now, in December, he's only getting 10 points per game, and he's only shooting 36% from 3. So he has greatly regressed. That's a big part of this. Dennis Schroeder, who they picked up, has played 4 games so far. And they got him for, as Petros Money would say, not much. But in his 4 games, he hasn't done much. He's gotten 5 points, 9 points, 9 points, 11 points. Draymond Green talked about it being an adjustment for the Warriors, kind of to adjust to his game. It's not working so far. He's not comfortable. They're not comfortable around Dennis Schroeder. And people say Schroeder. I'm pretty sure it's Schroeder. That's what Noah Eagle used to pronounce it as. And he doesn't mess that stuff up ever. So Dennis Schroeder, the pickup has not worked. Do they need Jimmy Butler? Probably. But I don't think, and I saw someone tweet this out last night, there's really any guy they can bring into this team right now, one guy that's realistic that can save the Golden State Warriors. Honestly, if Steph Curry's not right, if he's just getting older, he's going to be 37 by the time the season is over. I don't think this is a team that can really salvage their season. Now, it doesn't mean they can't win tomorrow. Doesn't mean they don't still have good players. Draymond Green, his defense, as much as I was going after him for being dirty and making that wrestling move yesterday, he's having a decent year. He's actually shooting 37% from 3. And I swear to God, has anyone looked at his numbers against the Clippers over the years? I feel like he always hits a ton of threes against them. He has some of his best 3-point shooting games against the Clippers. Draymond Green. I'm going to check his shooting splits last season just against the Clippers. What did he shoot? 50% from 3 in 3 games against the Clippers while attempting 5 3-pointers per game. And in the 2 games so far this season against the Clippers, what did he end up shooting? Game 1, he shot, 0 of 1 from 3, but the game at Into a Dome, he hit 2 3-pointers. So nothing major yet, but last season he was pretty damn good from 3 against the Clippers. All right, back to the chat here. What? ESPN has Kawhi listed as day-to-day or game-time decision. Game-time decision? Yeah, that's not accurate. They've had him at that for a while. Different places have had him at that. He's not playing tomorrow, guys. That's not happening. Steve Kerr compared Reeves to Ginobili. I do think that's an appropriate comp, a good comparison. Hullo Dello said there's a strong possibility the Warriors rest Curry against us instead of Phoenix because of our great point of attack guards. But I don't think the Warriors have the luxury to rest Curry against anyone right now. Yeah, but they have a back-to-back, and Curry hasn't looked right. It's kind of a no-win situation. They need him out there, but they also need him out there to be healthy. So it might serve them better to get him rest and get him back to being closer to 100%. If you're going to have Curry out there, you want him to be at his best. So let me see if I can get Big Mike in here. Mike! I told him earlier I might need him on the pod. I think they're eating right now, but I wanted to go behind enemy lines here and see what Big Mike's issues are with the Golden State Warriors. Maybe we can get some intel real quick here. My cousin Michael. Adam R. said, sorry for jumping in late, but what's this talk about trading Norman Powell? I don't like this move. Who's talking about trading Norman Powell? Who's talking about trading Norman Powell? What, Clippers Reddit? Who cares? I'm not worried about that. Norman Powell, in an interview, by the way, with Basketball Insiders, mentioned that Paul George and him haven't talked since he left for Philly, and Westbrook didn't say one word to him until their recent game in Denver, despite the fact that they faced each other twice earlier in the season. I'm not putting a ton into that, but hey, I'd be upset too if the guy who is replacing me is cooking and making me look worse by the day. You don't think Philadelphia 76ers fans are taking notice of what Norman Powell, Paul George's basically replacement, is able to do out there? Yeah, I don't know. It's one guy. This guy Quentin came in here and was like, what about trading Norman Powell and selling while he's high, selling at the top of the market? So, no, we don't want to do that. He has a favorable contract. If the season goes in the tank, if they turn into the Golden State Warriors, where all of a sudden, they have this downward spiral and they don't look like a contender or anything close, and Kawhi can't come back, and you have a big sell-off, that's different. But right now, nobody should be talking about Norman Powell being traded. Oh, I did see some article that was looking for clickbait that didn't have anyone reputable attached to it say something about Julius Randle. All right, we got the lead cheerleader for the Golden State Warriors bandwagon here. This is Big Mike. This is the guy who I referred to. This is my cousin Michael, my favorite cousin, who I talked about at the last game between these two teams at Intuit Dome. I sent a text, and I think I showed you this video where I showed, hey, Mike, how you feel about this loss right now? Take that big L. After you were talking a lot of trash, you got to admit, you thought the first loss to the Clippers was a fluke for the Golden State Warriors.
100% a fluke.
So after beating them twice, I mean, this is a pattern now, and the Golden State Warriors aren't exactly playing good ball. They've lost 11 of 14. What is the issue?
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, they're blowing a lot of winnable games right now. And that's just the reality. And
is that not the sign of a bad team, guys? Like, come on. We're losing close. What are these, moral victories?
I mean, at the end of the day, you'd rather lose close than lose by a zillion.
Okay, but how many of these close losses before you say something is wrong here?
It just depends on whether or not they have the pieces in place right now to make like a decent run. And I think they do. Like Schroeder, who they just picked up, has not been great so far. But if they can like integrate him in and get some action going off of that, then I think they're going to be good. At the end of the day, it's going to always come down to like this: can Steph put up numbers, which he did yesterday, and again they barely lost. So
does he look right to you though right now? Because a lot of people are pointing to the injury he suffered against the Clippers in Game 3 that's kind of been lingering. And he doesn't have the burst. He's not getting by guys much.
I mean, it's hard to say. Like I watch him running around. He still looks active out there. I think the question is going to be like, how hard do they like load manage him? Like how much do they load manage him?
Do you think because they have a back-to-back coming up and Steve Kerr made that comment last night, they're going to look into possibly him not playing one of the next two games? Do you think he plays against the Clippers tomorrow night?
Who is there? I haven't looked to see who they're.
So it's Clippers and Suns. Tomorrow, Clippers, Suns on Saturday.
That's interesting.
The Suns game's at home, though. Okay. I bet, you know what? If there's going to be a game they want Steph Curry playing, it's probably in front of the home crowd.
I'm a little surprised that I think he's going to play this Clippers game because they're off today. I don't know. I'd be a little surprised that they don't play him tomorrow night.
But they're off today, but then it's the back-to-back. So it's like they're trying to get him rest in one of these two games, it sounds like. I bet if they hold him out of one,
maybe
it's not going to be the game at home. They're going to try to give the home fans something.
I mean, that does make a lot of sense. The only thing is I wonder if Steve Kerr tries to decide what's the more winnable game, and whether it's home or away, and rolls them out for that of those two.
I don't know if the more winnable game is the one against the team that's already beaten you twice.
Did the Suns lose to the Nuggets last night?
They won. They beat the Nuggets.
So
the Suns had been they've been banged up. Booker was out. They had been struggling a little bit, but they got a big victory last night. But I think the Clippers are just a bad matchup for you guys. They're doing this without Kawhi.
It seems so far like that it's not been great. I don't know. I mean,
not been great. That's very kind of you. Not been great is one way to put it.
But having said that, I mean, like I said, the Warriors defensively have been pretty good. I haven't looked at their defensive rankings lately, but they were a top 5 defense in there.
Are
they 20th right now?
They are 20th their last 15 games defensively.
Okay, so where does that rank them? I wonder, do you know where they rank overall then?
On the season, they're now 9th. So they were way better because half the season now they have been 20th. So they must have been way better to start because they're still 9th overall.
But if they end up being a top 10 to top 12 defensive team, I think that's possible.
This is the content I was looking for.
Oh my gosh!
You're in the Lions Den in your own house.
Listen, I mean, I don't think I could say that the Clippers are actually cooking anybody these days. I mean,
17-13 without Kawhi.
Okay, fine, but
win the division so far. The division you're in.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's still a long season, a lot of games left. I don't know that I'd be getting too out in front of myself on that.
All right, that's fair. Says the guy who thought the Warriors were a contender like 2 weeks into the season.
Listen, a couple weeks in, I mean, they were what, 10-0?
They were 12-3 or 12-2 or something.
Yeah. Now they got blitzed by the team that I think is a problem for that's going to come out of the East. I think that Cavs team is like a real.
Yeah, you guys got annihilated by the Cavs. The only teams you had lost to were the Cavs and the Clippers. Those were your first 3 losses.
The Cavs have some serious size on that team. They've got a bunch of big dudes they can roll out. I think.
Oh no, they're legit. They've been legit.
I think they're a big. I don't know how they've done against the Celtics this year, but I'd be curious to find out because I think that's a problem.
I think they've gotten 1 win against them. What do you have to say to this? Drive-by buddies saying talking mess and don't even know your own team's schedule. Would you have been more aware of your team's schedule if they weren't struggling so much recently?
I mean, listen, it's a long season. You gotta pace yourself on this.
What about this idea from Y? Warriors need to make Schroeder the point guard and Steph the shooting guard.
I think Steve is going to try to figure out how to use Schroeder because I don't think he has a good handle yet. Man, I think Schroeder's pressing right now.
I just looked at the numbers. They're bad.
He has been not good the first couple games. So I don't know if he's just not – I don't know if he's just trying to fit into the system right now and get acclimated or if he's just pressing. But he has not looked good at all. I've been pretty disappointed so far.
The only good thing is you didn't have to give up that much to get him.
No.
It's a low-risk move.
The reality is that injury, the Melton injury, hurt the Warriors really bad because he was one of the reasons that they were off to a really hot start. Big dude, playing great D, fit in nicely as a shooter. He was like a perfect fit for them, and that really, really hurt them with what they had going on when he went down. I don't think it's an accident that their record has in some ways tanked since he's gotten hurt.
Dennis Schroeder is shooting 28% from the field so far and 24% from the outside. He came in from Brooklyn shooting 45% from the floor and 39% from 3, getting 18 per game. Like, I like the pickup. I did say to you, though, I still don't think that makes them a contender. I mean, you don't want Jimmy Butler, though.
I don't want Jimmy Butler. I don't think Jimmy Butler is the answer on this team. I mean, maybe the front office is going to think differently. But I think to get Jimmy Butler, they're going to need to give up too much. I think
Kuminga?
I think to get Jimmy Butler, you have to give up Kuminga.
Okay, here's the real question. Let's bring it back to the Clippers. How did you feel when the Paul George rumors were swirling of making a trade for him this summer?
And I did not like that at all. The problem with Paul George, and I think the Clippers are fortunate that he is no longer on their team, is that
this will get you back in their good graces here.
He can't stay healthy. I mean, that's just the reality. If you look at his start with the 76ers, the guy has been banged up and he's not played all that well. Now he's starting to get into it and play more in the last, like, I don't know, maybe a week or two. But
he's been better, but he still is very inconsistent with his numbers.
You can't be given. I think didn't get a max deal.
He's 34. He got $200 million.
Yeah, I just think that's not the way to go. And by the way, I agree with the commentator here who's saying that, Draymond averaging 6 points a game, that's part of the problem. I mean, he brings a lot of other stuff to the table, but
dirty stuff.
Well, listen, we call that.
Sorry, Mike.
Got a little too carried away here. We call that gritty play up here in NorCal, but the reality is that he's got to do more offensively, and I think he can, but he is in a mindset of facilitating all the time. He doesn't look for his own shot at times when he should. So
he's actually shooting 37% from three too.
He was, early on in the season, he was hitting that 3-point shot, and it was really helping him out. So we'll see if that happens tomorrow against the Clippers.
I did look this up about Kuminga earlier. His percentages are way down, and all it is he's shooting 10% less on twos this season. He's shooting 10% lower on 2-pointers.
I think that he's taking way too many mid-range contested jumpers. That's why his stats are down. I think that's one of the reasons why the Kerr is down on him right now, and he's been chewing him out recently.
He's taking bad analytic shots.
He's taking bad analytic shots, and Kerr doesn't like him taking those mid-range shots, which the dude's crazy athletic. He needs to get to the rim.
Draymond plays basketball like it's rollerball. That's true. All right, so what's your prediction for the Clippers-Warriors game tomorrow? With and without Steph Curry? Because so far, you're like, the Clippers got a date against Destiny. It's not going to be good. You were talking all that trash the first couple of games.
What's funny is the way that the NBA goes, you think, the Warriors have zero chance without Steph Curry. Man, you still got to play these games. I'll tell you what, the Warriors without Steph Curry can show up, and they could just have one of those games where, they throw the script out the window. So
who's going to step up if they don't have Steph? Schroeder's finally going to have a big game?
You need to have someone go off. I mean, I think Wiggins has been pretty consistent.
He's been good.
But outside of that, it's who's gonna bring it? I think Schroeder probably would need to have a breakout game. I think if the Warriors have Steph Curry, I think it's a good competitive game. I think if the Warriors don't have Steph Curry, maybe they pull rabbit out of the hat, but I think it's going to be challenging. So
sounds like a loss to me.
Sounds like the Warriors are going to win either way. The way I'm putting this out here,
garbage. So if past history is any prediction or from you, I don't think this is going to end well for the Golden State Warriors.
Lindy Waters, man, that's a nice call out right there.
The other Splash brother out there, the newest one with the last name Waters. Wait a second. Somebody's calling me out. You can't diss Draymond while calling Pat Bev a gritty player when he's on our team. Pat Bev's not nearly as dirty. If you wanted to go there, you should probably go after Chris Paul, who also hit a couple guys in the nuts over the years. That's the comp to Draymond Green from the Clippers side. But Draymond is just taking things to a different level. The curb stomp on Sabonis. I want to like Draymond because I love defense, and he is one of the greatest defenders in the modern era. But he makes it really hard to like him because of all the antics.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think he cost the Warriors that championship, a few years back when he got suspended. So
yeah, he still played in how many of the games? 6 of the 7. And how many points did he have in Game 7? He had 30 points. That was the best game of his career in that Game 7.
He balled out.
He did, and they still lost.
LeBron having that silly block at the end of the game is what killed it. So.
Silly block is how Golden State Warriors fans categorize it. That silly block, the greatest block in NBA history.
Counts as silly for me.
All right, this is Big Mike. So now when I'm texting him tomorrow night and I'm showing the screen, this is that guy. And I may have to wear it. If the Clippers end up losing, it's not just a loss for the Clippers. It's a loss for me against Big Mike here.
That's 100% true.
And I can't have that.
And I might try to call into your show and talk about the Warriors angle on that win if this goes down the right way, as it should.
Well, I love my cousin, and I'm sorry that I Draymond you earlier. And he's been hosting me up.
Tee you up on that, bro.
He's been hosting me up in NorCal. Yeah, that's a fine. So I'm going to get out of here. I think we got some food ready. Okay, quickly.
The Looney thoughts really quick. Oh, that's a great question. It's really funny. I feel like Looney is just not making the impact he's made the last couple of years. I don't know if him moving out of a starting position has been a part of that, but he just does not seem to be the same force, specifically on the boards like he's been in the past. So we'll have to see how that goes. But they need him because they are a small team.
Zubac has destroyed you in both games.
Oh, we're a small team, and Looney's one of our only size players, and so. If he's not ripping down a bunch of boards, we're in trouble. No question.
All right. There's your insider on the Golden State Warriors here. Big Mike, big game tomorrow night. We'll see if Steph Curry is available. I need to check the tip time one more time. I wasn't sure earlier today. Is it 7:30 or it's a 7 p.m. tip? So we'll have your pregame show right back here at 6 p.m. at Clippers Talk on the YouTube side. And, of course, we'll be on AM 570 LA Sports as well. Love y'all. For Big Mike, I'm Adam Oslin. This has been